Mum, step away from the vehicle now. I'm standing in my own driveway, watching two men in police uniforms order my wife to surrender the keys to our Mercedes G63. The HOA president is behind them, arms crossed, wearing the smuggest grin I've ever seen. But here's what they didn't know: my wife spent 12 years training federal agents in tactical assessment and threat identification. And in exactly 90 seconds, she's about to dismantle their entire operation with 3 words that'll make their faces go ghost white. Before we get into how this absolute nightmare unfolded, drop a comment right now telling me where you're watching from, city and state. Because what happened to us could happen to any homeowner in America, and you need to know your rights before some power-hungry HOA board tries this garbage in your neighborhood. Now let me take you back to where this insanity started. It was a Tuesday afternoon in our gated community in Scottsdale, Arizona. Beautiful houses, palm trees, the whole suburban dream. We'd lived there for 3 years without a single problem. My name's Marcus. I'm a commercial real estate developer. My wife, Jessica, everyone calls her Jess, she'd just retired after 12 years as a training specialist with the FBI's Critical Incident Response Group. The woman literally taught federal agents how to identify threats, assess situations under pressure, and recognize deception. We just pulled into our driveway in our Mercedes G63, fully paid off, legally registered, properly insured. It was our pride and joy reward for years of hard work. That's when we saw her marching across the street. Patricia Hendricks, HOA president for the past 6 years. Late 50s, perfectly pressed blazers, and the kind of attitude that makes you understand why people hate HOAs. She'd been on our case for months about the stupidest things. Our mailbox was 2 inches tall. Our holiday lights stayed up 3 days past regulation. Our lawn was half a shade off approved green. But what she was about to pull, this was next level. And trust me, she picked the wrong family to mess with. Patricia stops at the end of our driveway, her heels clicking on the pavement like a countdown timer. Mr. and Mrs. Chen, we need to talk about that vehicle. Jess steps out of the G63, calm as ever. Good afternoon, Patricia. What about it? It's in violation of HOA Code Section 7.3.2. Commercial vehicles are prohibited in driveways overnight. I actually laughed. Commercial vehicle? Patricia, this is a personal SUV. It's a Mercedes G-Wagon, she says, spitting the words like they're evidence. That's a commercial class vehicle used by security companies, military operations. It doesn't belong in a residential community. Jess crosses her arms, show me the code. Patricia whips out her phone, shoving the screen in our faces. Sure enough, there's some vague clause about vehicles exceeding commercial specifications not being permitted in visible parking areas. This is ridiculous. I say half the neighborhood has SUVs. The Johnsons have a Suburban, the Millers have a Yukon XL. Those, Patricia says, are family vehicles. Your G63 is a statement vehicle. It's ostentatious, it lowers property values. And as of this moment, you're in violation. She pulls out a formal notice, already printed and signed. You have 24 hours to remove this vehicle from the premises or face a $500 daily fine. Jess takes the paper, reads it slowly, and if we don't, Patricia's smile could cut glass. Then we'll take appropriate action. What she didn't say was that she'd already decided exactly what that action would be, and it was completely illegal. We went inside, thinking this was just Patricia being Patricia. We'd dealt with her nonsense before. We'd appeal to the HOA board, show them the regulation didn't apply, and move on. But that night, Jess did what she always does: she researched. She pulled up every HOA document, every covenant, every community regulation filed with the county. She cross-referenced the vehicle code Patricia cited with Arizona state law, manufacturer specifications, and even federal classifications, and she found it. The regulation Patricia referenced, It specifically applied to vehicles over 10,000 pounds used for commercial purposes with commercial registration. Our G63 was under 6,000 pounds and registered as a personal vehicle. Patricia had blatantly misrepresented the rule. She's lying, Jess said, showing me her laptop. This code doesn't apply to us, not even close. So we're good legally, absolutely. But Marcus ... She looked at me with that expression, the one she'd get when she sensed something was off during her FBI days. Patricia cited a specific subsection. That means she's been planning this. And people who plan don't just give up when you prove them wrong. What are you saying? I'm saying she's going to escalate. And when entitled people with a little bit of power get challenged, they don't back down. They double down. I should have listened to that warning more seriously. Because exactly 18 hours later, two fake cops showed up in our driveway. Now before I tell you what happened next, and trust me, you're not gonna believe this, smash that like button and subscribe, because what my wife did in the next 5 minutes is something every single person needs to see. This is about to get wild. The next afternoon, I was on a work call in my home office. Jess was in the garage organizing some boxes, then I heard it. "Excuse me, sir, ma'am, step outside please." I looked out the window and my stomach dropped. Two men in police uniforms standing next to a vehicle with community enforcement painted on the side. Behind them, Patricia, arms crossed, looking like she'd just won the lottery. I ran outside. Jess was already walking toward them, and I could see that shift in her posture. The training kicking in. "Can I help you, officers?" she asked, voice perfectly level. The taller one, badge number 4792 visible on his chest, stepped forward. "We're here on behalf of the Sunset Ridge HOA regarding a vehicle violation. You were given 24 hours to remove the Mercedes G-Class from the property. That period has expired, I see, and you're here too. We're authorized to impound the vehicle for code violations. We need the keys." This is where most people would panic. Start arguing, get emotional, but Jess? She just stood there, completely calm, studying them. Before we proceed, she said slowly, "Can I see your credentials, both of you?" The shorter officer, badge 5204, shifted his weight. "Ma'am, we don't have time for, it's a simple request. You're asking to seize private property. I'd like to verify your authority to do so." Badge 4790 sighed and pulled out a wallet, flashing an ID card quickly to read. "Slower, please," Jess said. He did it again, barely giving her a second. And that's when I saw the tiniest smile on my wife's face. Not a friendly smile, a gotcha smile. She turned to Patricia. "These are your officers?" "Community enforcement has full authority too." "That's not what I asked," Jess interrupted. "Are these men employed by you, the HOA, or any private security company you've contracted?" Patricia's jaw tightened. "They're authorized by the community covenant too." "Answer the question." The air went electric. You could feel the shift. Jess pulled out her phone. "Hang on 1 second. I just want to clarify something." She dialed, put it on speaker. "Scottsdale Police Department, non-emergency line. Yes, hi, I'm a resident at 4782 Desert Bloom Drive. There are 2 individuals in police uniforms at my property claiming authority to seize my vehicle. I'd like to confirm if there are any officers dispatched to this address." Pause. "Can you describe them?" Jess rattled off their badge numbers, physical descriptions, and vehicle information. Longer pause. "Ma'am, we have no units at that location." "Can you describe the uniforms?" Badge 4792's face went pale. "Dark navy, gold badges, patches that say community enforcement with a shield logo." "Ma'am, those are not Scottsdale PD uniforms. Those individuals are not police officers. Do you feel threatened?" Jess looked directly at badge 4792. "Not yet. But I'd like an officer here to sort this out. Units are en route. Stay on the line." Patricia's smug expression evaporated. "Now wait just a minute. You sent fake cops to my house. I said, my voice rising. Are you out of your mind? They're not fake cops, Patricia stammered. They're licensed security personnel authorized under. Under what? Jess said, her voice cutting like a blade. Licensed security personnel cannot wear badges, cannot identify themselves as law enforcement, and cannot threaten to seize private property without a court order. That's impersonating an officer. That's a felony. Badge 5200 for was already backing toward his vehicle. You stay right there, Jess commanded, and something in her voice made him freeze. She looked at Patricia. You want to tell me what you were planning here? Because from where I'm standing, you just committed multiple crimes on camera. She pointed up, our Ring doorbell recording everything. Patricia's face went from smug to horrified in 3 seconds flat. What happened in the next 30 seconds is the exact reason you need to know your rights. Because when real police showed up, what they found blew this case wide open. Stay with me, justice is coming. 2 actual Scottsdale PD cruisers pulled up within 6 minutes. Real officers, real badges, and they were not happy. The first officer, a woman named Sergeant Torres, stepped out and immediately looked at badge for 1,792 and 5,204. Who are you two? Badge for 1,792 cleared his throat. Private security, ma'am. We're contracted by the Homeowners Association too. Let me stop you right there, Torres said. Where are your security licenses? And why are you wearing uniforms with badges that could be confused with law enforcement? Silence, I asked you a question. Badge 5200 for finally spoke. We were hired by Miss Hendricks too to handle a vehicle violation. Handle how? To remove it from the property. Torres turned to Patricia. Did you contract these men? Yes, but they're fully licensed. Licensed to wear those uniforms. Licensed to seize property? Patricia's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Torres turned to Jess, ma'am. Are you the homeowner? I am. And these individuals threatened to take your vehicle? They demanded the keys. They claimed they were authorized to impound it. Torres looked at her partner. Get their information, all of it. Then she turned back to Patricia. Ma'am, you're aware that impersonating law enforcement is a Class 6 felony in Arizona? This is where Jess absolutely dismantled everything. Officer Torres, Jess said calmly, I'd like to file a formal complaint. But before we proceed, there's something you should know. She pulled out her phone and opened a folder. I spent 12 years training federal agents in threat assessment and deception recognition. When these 2 individuals identified themselves, I noticed several inconsistencies. Torres raised an eyebrow, such as, Badge 4792's uniform has a patch sewn on incorrectly upside down orientation, wrong thread color. His badge is a generic security badge purchased online, not issued by any legitimate agency. Badge 5204 has a duty belt with no radio, no body camera, and a flashlight positioned on the wrong side for standard law enforcement carry. She turned to the fake cops. You're right-handed, aren't you? But your flashlight is on your right side. Every officer knows you put it on your support hand side. Badge 5200 for looked like he wanted to disappear. But here's the big one, Jess continued, their vehicle. Community enforcement isn't a registered entity in Arizona. I checked the Secretary of State business database. It doesn't exist, which means this entire operation is fraudulent. Patricia tried to interrupt. Now that's not. I'm not finished, Jess said coldly. I also pulled the HOA financial records public record, by the way. You paid these to $1,500 from HOA funds collected from homeowners. To commit a crime, Torres was taking notes fast. You embezzled community funds, Jess said, to hire fake police officers to illegally seize property because you personally didn't like our car. Patricia's face went red. I was enforcing community standards. By breaking the law, the board authorized. Show me the board meeting minutes authorizing this action. There aren't any, Jess said, because you did this on your own. You didn't consult the board. You didn't consult a lawyer. You just decided you had enough power to do whatever you wanted. She turned to Torres. I want her arrested. And I want those two arrested, and I want a full investigation into HOA finances, because if she's willing to do this, I guarantee this isn't the first time she's abused her position. Torres looked at Patricia. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to come with me. They arrested Patricia right there in our driveway. Handcuffs, Miranda rights, the whole thing. Badge 4792 and Badge 5204, whose real names were Derek and Chris, unlicensed security consultants, were arrested on the spot for criminal impersonation and attempted theft. The neighbors came out, some were filming. Others were asking questions, and Patricia? She was screaming about lawsuits, about her lawyer, about how we'd regret this. But Jess just stood there, arms crossed, watching justice unfold. Torres came over before she left. Ma'am, I have to say that was some of the most thorough citizen documentation I've ever seen. You made our job easy. I was trained by the best. Jess said, FBI? Critical Incident Response Group. I taught agents how to do exactly what I just did. Torres shook her hand. Well, you haven't lost your touch. We'll be in contact for statements. But between you and me, this is going to blow up big. HOA fraud cases always do. She was right. Over the next 3 weeks, everything unraveled. The investigation revealed that Patricia had been embezzling HOA funds for 2 years. The fake cop incident was just the tip of the iceberg. She'd been paying herself consulting fees, funneling money to family members for fake landscaping work, and pocketing violations fines instead of depositing them. Total amount, over $47,000. She was charged with embezzlement, fraud, criminal impersonation conspiracy, and about 6 other counts I can't even remember. Derek and Chris, they got charged with impersonating officers and attempted grand theft. Turns out they had a whole side business doing this for other HOAs and property management companies. They're both facing prison time. The HOA board dissolved. A new election was held. The entire covenant was rewritten with actual legal oversight. And our G63 still sitting in our driveway. Completely legal, completely allowed ... But here's the kicker, and this is my favorite part. The new HOA board issued a formal apology, and they voted to name the community park after Jess for protecting homeowner rights and exposing corruption. There's now a plaque that reads, Jessica Chen Community Park, in recognition of courage and integrity. Patricia's name was stripped from every HOA record, every committee, every document. It's like she never existed, and you know what the best part is? Every time Patricia drives by, because yeah, she still lives here, in her HOA-mandated shame, she has to see that park sign. She has to see my wife's name every single day. Look, here's what I learned from this entire nightmare. Power without accountability is dangerous. Patricia had a little bit of authority, and she turned it into a weapon. She genuinely believed she could do whatever she wanted because nobody had ever stopped her before. But here's the thing, there are Patricias everywhere. In HOAs, in schools, in workplaces, in every corner of life where someone gets a title and forgets they're supposed to serve, not rule. And the only way they get stopped is when people stand up. When people know their rights, when people document everything and don't back down. Jess didn't get angry. She didn't yell. She just used her training, stayed calm, and systematically dismantled a fraudulent operation in under 10 minutes. That's power. Know your rights, document everything. And never let someone with a clipboard and an attitude make you feel like you're powerless, because you're not. If this story fired you up, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button right now. We share real stories about standing up to entitled people, fighting back against injustice, and winning. Drop a comment telling me, have you ever dealt with an HOA nightmare? What happened? I read every single comment and I want to hear your stories. And share this video with anyone who needs to hear it. Because the more people who know their rights, The fewer Patricias can get away with this garbage. You've got power. Use it. I'm Marcus, and this is my life. My wife took down a corrupt HOA president, fake cops, and a fraud operation in under 2 weeks. And our Mercedes G63, still parked in the driveway, shining legal and not going anywhere. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Stay strong, stay smart, and never back down.